Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're mapping out some incredibly profound psychological territory. If you're someone who loves understanding the deeper mechanics of why we feel what we feel, you are absolutely in for a treat. We're going to do a deep dive into Carl Jung's concepts on a very specific, almost haunting type of loneliness. Let's get right into it.
I want you to picture this for a second. You're sitting in a warmly lit living room. You're surrounded by friends, people who genuinely like you and whom you trust. The conversation is flowing naturally, and you decide to share something vulnerable, a real, raw observation about your life. And everyone nods. They agree. They might even praise your incredible insight. But right then, sitting right there in the middle of all that warmth and validation, you feel a sudden, cold wave wash over you. You feel completely unseen. It's like the words you actually spoke and the words they heard were two entirely different things. Okay, let's really unpack this, because what we're talking about here completely shatters our conventional definition of isolation. You see, traditional physical loneliness is super easy to measure, right? It's an empty apartment, it's a quiet Friday night, it's the simple absence of warm bodies. But Jungian loneliness? That operates on a totally different axis. It's that crowded room loneliness. It's not the absence of others, it's the presence of a gap. It's the agonizing space between being known for what you show on the outside and the heavy reality of what you're hiding in the dark.
So why does this happen? Well, to really grasp why we feel so desperately lonely while surrounded by people, we have to look at the sheer mechanics of how we talk to each other. And honestly, we have to acknowledge a pretty harsh truth about human communication. It is, fundamentally, kinda broken. When you open your mouth to try and explain your inner world using everyday conversational syntax, you're actually engaging in a violent simplification of who you are.
And this comparison right here brilliantly illustrates the core problem. Jung believed the human psyche is like a vast inner ocean. It's not just a neat database of memories. It's chaotic, it's deeply layered, and it operates entirely on its own autonomous logic. It speaks in symbols and dreams. But what happens when you try to share that with someone? You literally have to force that entire swirling ocean into a neat, structured, declarative sentence. It's like taking a deeply emotional, culturally complex poem and translating it into a completely different language. Sure, you might carry the literal words across the border, but what you actually hand the other person, it's just the skeletal remains. The soul of it gets completely lost in transit.
And the complication multiplies the exact moment those translated words reach the listener's ear. Think about the sequence here. You speak your simplified translation, but the person sitting across from you, they don't receive those words as objective data. Oh no, they push your words through the sieve of their own psychological limitations, their own hidden fears, their desires, their own unhealed wounds. So by the end of it, what's happening isn't true communication at all. It's a reconstruction. They're just responding to a version of you that fits perfectly within the borders of their own mind.
And here is exactly where the paradox tightens its grip on us. The more you try to be understood, the more you learn which parts of your story actually receive warmth from people. So you offer those parts more often. You start noticing which of your emotions make people uncomfortable, and you soften them. You become incredibly fluent in a language of the self that isn't actually your native tongue. This brings us directly to a foundational Jungian concept, the persona. It's your social mask. But it is so important to note here. The persona isn't a malicious lie, not at all. It's a necessary adaptation. It's literally the face you have to show the world just so daily interaction remains possible.
But here is the profound risk in all of this. The danger is not that you wear the mask. The danger is that you begin to believe it is all you are. Let's just sit with that heavy truth for a second. The exact loneliness we're exploring today is that massive, aching gap between the true self that longs to be known and the masked self that performs for the crowd.
Because that gap between our true self and our mask grows so incredibly wide, it creates a powerful side effect. I mean, think back to a time when you met someone and just felt, boom, instant, unexplainable chemistry. And I'm not just talking about romantic interest, but a feeling that this person reached right into a part of you that had been totally silent for years and somehow gave it a voice. We often call it a deep bond or even fate. But why does that happen with such startling intensity?
Now, what's really fascinating is how Jung explains that magnetic pull. He believed we all carry these unconscious images, patterns of wholeness that the psyche is just desperately trying to complete. In men, he called this the anima, in women, the animus. And I want to be super clear on this point. These are not gender stereotypes. They are deep, buried archetypal energies representing our capacity for feeling, creativity, discernment, and inner truth. But because these energies live way down in the unconscious, we don't actually experience them directly.
Instead, we experience them through a brilliant little psychological trick called projection. Here's how it works. First, you have this unconscious need to integrate these buried parts of yourself. Then, you encounter someone who essentially acts as a blank screen, and you project all those buried qualities right onto them. Suddenly, you are entirely captivated by the illusion of the perfect other. You genuinely believe they possess some magical quality you lack, that they are somehow more alive, more whole, more real than you are.
But here is the harsh reality check. There is a stark, undeniable difference between our perception and reality here. What you think you found is your missing piece, your other half, someone to finally step in and cure your loneliness. But what you actually found? It's just a mirror. That incredible warmth you feel? It's your own warmth, finally being recognized. That insane depth you sense in them? It's actually your own depth surfacing. You're clinging to them with this intense attachment because they are temporarily restoring a piece of your own long-lost potential.
But we have to remember, mirrors don't hold images, right? They only reflect them. When that person inevitably changes or leaves, the agonizing pain you feel isn't just the loss of them, it's the sudden loss of the self they were reflecting back to you. The person you cannot stop thinking about is not the answer to your loneliness. They are the question your soul is asking. Clinging to a reflection is never, ever going to cure the ache inside.
Okay, let's shift gears and see how this builds into one of Jung's most disturbing yet absolutely fascinating concepts. Because when you finally realize that the perfect partner or the perfect mentor isn't going to save you, you're forced to turn around and face what haunts the present. You are forced to face exactly what is waiting for you in the dark.
Jung called this the unlived life. And this definition is crucial to understand. It refers to all the possibilities you didn't pursue, the authentic emotions you judged as being too much, the parts of yourself you quietly abandoned just to maintain social safety. When you choose your social mask, your persona, over your true authenticity, those desires don't just magically disappear. The unconscious is a wildly active, dynamic force. The unlived life literally goes underground and it waits, and it constantly presses against the edges of your awareness.
Now you might be wondering, okay, how do I know if I'm carrying around a heavy unlived life? Well, there are a few telltale symptoms. It's that vague restlessness you feel even when your life looks absolutely perfect on paper. It's the habit of idealizing totally unavailable people. But the biggest symptom of all? That chronic, nagging feeling of being unseen and a desperate craving for an audience to finally, truly understand you. We walk around thinking we're lacking social connection, but Jung suggests we are actually lacking self-connection. This right here is the absolute pivot point of our whole explainer today. The part of you that feels so misunderstood, it isn't actually waiting for an audience to applaud it. It's waiting for your attention. If you turned toward that inner material yourself, maybe through journaling or creating art or just quiet contemplation, it would fundamentally begin to change. Jung did exactly this after his painful split with Freud. He painted, he recorded his bizarre dreams, he confronted his own unconscious directly. You have to feed yourself from your own source, because any external relationship you try to use as a substitute is always going to leave you hungry.
And that inward turn, that leads to the ultimate goal. Jung called it individuation. Now, it's not about being perfect or achieving some perfectly healed state. It's simply the process of becoming integrated. It means you are a self that can contain all of its messy, beautiful contradictions without being completely torn apart by them. And an individuated person doesn't chase recognition like it's oxygen. They've developed the profound, quiet ability to be alone without being lonely and to be with others without losing themselves.
So, the crucial takeaway is captured beautifully in this famous quote from Jung. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. It's a stunning metaphor, but there is an implied prerequisite here for this beautiful transformation to actually occur safely. Listen, that transformation only works when both substances are stable to begin with. If you bring your brokenness and your unlived life to someone and basically demand that they fix it, well, that's dependency. It's an exhausting, endless cycle of wearing masks and repeating old wounds. But true connection? That happens when two stable wholes actively choose to share reality. You no longer idealize them, and you don't demonize them either. You see them as complex, flawed, and beautiful, and you finally allow yourself to be seen with that exact same level of honesty. You don't need them to survive, you just choose to experience life with them.
You know, the truth is, you are never truly unknown to the world. You are simply unknown to yourself. The person you spent so long waiting for to finally see you is the person you are becoming. So I want to leave you with this question to really ponder as we wrap up today's explainer. Look inward. What part of your unlived life is quietly waiting for your attention today? Dive into that inner ocean. It's time to start mapping your own territory. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I'll see you on the next one.